Hello, my name is Marcin Kubacki, I'm Chief Software Architect at Storware, and today I'm going to briefly show you how to protect applications running in your Kubernetes environment. In my environment, I have a Kubernetes cluster and several deployments already running. One of them is MySQL database here, and this MySQL once also has replica set and a corresponding POD with the persistent volume. So the first thing is to focus on the persistent volume data that you have already inside your deployment. And this can be either file-based or Ceph RBD from the vProtect perspective. These deployments are later visible in vProtect web interface. Now I'm logging into the UI as the administrator, and I can see several sources which you can protect with the vProtect. So first is the virtual environment level, so the deployment level, as you already have seen. Then there is application level, so whatever you have running inside your deployments, and it is let's say a database, you can utilize your native commands or already running scripts and put them together in a central place so that you are able to protect it on the application level. And finally, there is a storage level, so it is either a file system or the Ceph RBD as the source, and you can in agentless protect these sources as well. So you treat, let's say, your Ceph RBD cluster not as the storage provider for your Kubernetes and data protection invoking all of the operations from the Kubernetes level, but from the other side, you are just focused on the Ceph cluster and the volumes that you need to protect. In the dashboard, I see the protection for all of these items. I also see the status of my backup destinations, how much storage I still have, and some general backup statistics and reporting. With vProtect, we have multiple nodes, so data movers, that are responsible to initiate backups. In Kubernetes world, they don't have to be installed on the same environment. They will be outside, and you can have multiple nodes so that you can later scale out if necessary. In virtual environment section, you notice that I have all of the deployments and virtual machines, because you can mix together different types of the sources, different types of the hypervisor platforms or container orchestrators. And in order to add an additional source, I need to go to infrastructure, and in hypervisor managers tab, I can define Kubernetes access so that I'm able to collect information about the Kubernetes nodes and running deployments. Once I have done it, in my instances view, I will see my MySQL once deployment. And in the details, you can see that there is already some backup history available. It also scans for the labels attached to this deployment, and I can view the backup size, backup time statistics, especially important if you need to track a particular deployment backup bottleneck, let's say. And this one persistent volume, this is in the disks tab, while I have my backup history already visible in here as well. Now I can initiate the actual backup, so I would like to have a full backup of this particular deployment. In Kubernetes world, there are different strategies to how to approach the persistent volumes in this case. So for the file system based volumes, we are creating a sidecar pod and exporting data directly through this pod. If it's a Ceph RBD volume, we can reach data directly with your with RBD export or RBD NBD, and this also allows us to do incremental backups if necessary. Now, everything in vProtect is a task, so you can see that export is the data export from the cluster to the vProtect node, and later we store data in one of the multiple backup destinations that we support today. So we have both the object storage, file system storage, so basically anything that you can attach to the vProtect, but you also can extend capabilities of your current legacy backup solutions such as IBM Spectrum Protect, Dell EMC Networker or Avamar or Veritas Net Backup as well. With the backup policies, you can configure which deployments are configured and backupped according to which schedules. So we can have multiple schedules for either periodic interval-based backups or for a specific on a specific time of a day. And if you would like to recover later these VMs either periodically for test purposes or on demand, you can use recovery plans policies. So in this case, you are able to create a recovery plan with a set of rules, each for individual specific hypervisor platform. So in our case, it can be Kubernetes, so that you can have multiple deployments recovered easily. Now, the application level protection actually reaches your data in a different way, because you would like to centralize and store all of the backups using the same solution, the same mechanism. So while you can use obviously your existing script, it would be just better if you could centralize them and attach to appropriate policies. So in the applications you have the execution configuration definitions. So this is the description how you would like to execute the actual backup, and such execution configuration is already prepared for you. Especially that application backup not only protects your applications inside the Kubernetes cluster, but also there is one predefined execution configuration for your etcd, so the central point of the metadata in the Kubernetes cluster. So once you have such execution configuration, you can later assign it to the multiple applications. One very important aspect is that in order to manage multiple sources and standardize them in the same way, probably your script or command will receive the same set of parameters but with different values. So notice that inside the execution configuration, such script, for instance, can require us to provide specific parameters like where to store the log file, where is the file that is going to be actually exported, which databases you would like to backup with this script, and later these parameters will be propagated to all of the applications to which it is assigned. So in my instances, whenever I create later the application that uses the MySQL MariaDB template, MyDB, let's say, and let me just give the fake data to protect this application, you will have the option to specify values for these parameters. So they have been propagated for you and they are ready to be filled up, especially that you have already some hints how your database, how this script particularly is going to be used. So this is going to centralize all of your native commands or custom scripts in a single place. And the backups can be stored according to the SLAs within the same places, the same backup destinations, the same backup providers that you already have in your infrastructure, so your S3 object storage, your legacy backup systems or file system. Finally, storage as the third source. So imagine that you have a Kubernetes cluster and there is Ceph RBD for the to expose the volumes. So you can scan the same way, so via storage provider in this case, for the volumes that are available in your instance. So this is the lowest level possible in this case. We are focusing only on the data, but it also allows you to have a snapshot-based approach. So instead of the just copying files from the file system storage in Kubernetes, with the Ceph RBD volumes, we can create snapshot to make these backups far more consistent. And in the future, we will also allow snapshot management capability for Ceph. So this will extend further your protection so that you can granularly go to the specific point in time without the need to bring back the data from your backup provider. Notice that these backup destinations that we support currently, the list is going on. So this, for file system, it can be basically anything that is remote or local. We can also provide you with some sort of deduplication if you are going to use vProtect as a standalone solution. You can use object storage. Especially notice that Amazon's S3 also allows you actually to use S3 compatible storage in your infrastructure. So if you have Scality, for instance, or IBM Object Storage, you can also use this connector to store data in there. Finally, enterprise-grade backup solutions, so that you can use your Dell or IBM or Veritas backup providers also, and extend them with the Kubernetes support and other platforms that vProtect is able to use today. So thank you for today's session. I hope you enjoyed this video and stay tuned for the others.